And here we are at the 1/4 mark. I almost missed it because I was daydreaming. Bit of a sluggish morning this morning. Last night was pretty rough. The ridge that I camped on, wouldn't have thought it, but crazy windy. Actually, I knew it was gonna be windy, but it was a little windier than ideal. Nono ended up catching up. Not so much catching up, but I thought she would have set up camp earlier because of how windy it was and how late it was. And if I was whinging about it being late and wanting to be set up, I was pretty sure she would have already been set up a few miles back. But at that flat spot I found, she ended up turning up. And because of the lack of space, we know she's sharing a tent because there was really only room for one tent. It was too windy to cowboy camp. So we squeezed into her tent, which is, we both have two-person tents, but I think neither of them are really, they could be, but both her and I have quite wide sleeping mats, so they don't really fit. So it was a pretty tight squeeze to get in, and her tent just weathers the wind better than mine, but it's still pretty much folded and collapsed. A couple of times while it was sort of at its windiest, when it collapsed, it just folds down on itself and you have to kind of prop it back up again. But yeah, it's just a noisy night. Tent just flapping like crazy all night, and yeah, just different sleeping environments. So I slept like garbage, to be honest. So I was pretty happy when I saw the sun, saw the sky starting to get light. Oh, the best part was though that of the climb out of wherever I was, Lake Isabella or Walker Pass, that was done with. So this morning I've had a nice long downhill, and I'm still on it, downhill hike down the western side of this range. So it feels really early. It's not quite as early as it looks or feels. The sun is actually well and truly up, but it's just stuck on the far side of some very tall mountains. So a nice shaded, cool downhill run, and I found myself daydreaming pretty heavily, to the point that I'm looking at the trail in front of me, not really seeing anything else around me. It's funny how that happens sometimes. I seem to have three main daydreams that come and go and change as the days go by as to which one's the most appealing, and they're pretty much, one of them is surprisingly going back home, back to my old job, which I really enjoyed. That's if I can get it. Building in a van and just living simply in a van and enjoying the various perks that kind of lifestyle would bring. And I get caught up in the building of the van and how I would do it and how I would wire it and how I would have all the solar and everything. I lose myself in that stuff. Another of the main fantasies is finishing this trail and then pretty much heading straight to New Zealand and hiking the Te Aroa, if I'm pronouncing that properly, sorry Kiwis, trail which runs tip to tip of New Zealand, which is about, off the top of my head, I think it's another 3,000 to 3,500 k's, maybe 3,000 kilometers. So that'll be another few months of hiking, some beautiful countryside, and considering I have some very real thoughts about moving and living in New Zealand, it'd be a good way to see the country before doing that. So yeah, I spent some time fantasizing about that, which is kind of ridiculous because I just passed the 1/4 mark on this trail. I'm only 25% of the way in after 52 days, I think. Well, today might be the 52nd day, which is definitely quite slow progress, slower than I planned, but we'll pick that up. So yeah, I think it's funny to be even thinking about doing another through hike when I have only finished a quarter of this one and I have a long way to go. And the third one's a fantasy I've had for a long time, and it makes no actual sense, and logistically is pretty much impossible. But hey, sometimes you never know. But it basically somehow sees me wind up living somewhere like Alaska or maybe northern British Columbia, on some kind of ranchy homestead, self-sufficient farm type thing, some part of like a big family or community, and just living that farm life that I definitely miss and really enjoy, and would love to get back to. Just the day-to-days of farm life, the different. I guess it's kind of like hiking. I never know where I'm going to be, where I'm going, what I'm doing, what I'm going to see. All I do is just keep hiking, keep walking, and see what unfolds. You never know where you're going to end up at the end of the day. So I guess there are some similarities between that and on a farm, where you never know what you're going to do each day. You have a plan for what you might do, and then normally while you're doing that, you find about 5 other things that need doing, either more urgently, and you end up doing those, and it always seems to lead to random semi-adventures or hard work. So yeah, I keep bouncing back and forth week by week between those different ideas, and then the rest of the time I pretty much just daydream about food or hand-to-hand combat with mountain lions and rattlesnakes and weird little things like that. Occasionally I look around and take in my surroundings, but most of the time I just stare about 6 feet in front of where I'm walking and try not to fall over. Yeah, today's a sleepy day. I'm glad I'm headed downhill. Had way too much sugar lately. My diet has become appallingly sugar-based, out of, not intention, but just probably poor choices, which I need to start addressing, because I'm going to end up finishing this trail with diabetes or something. So on that positive note, I'm going to leave it, celebrate being a quarter of the way into the trail. Sort of kind of sad to be a quarter of the way in and not have, to know that it is actually passing by and it's not just going to go on forever, but also at the same time kind of overwhelmed by the fact that shit, that was just that was a quarter. 652.5 miles was a quarter, so it means I've got over 3,000 kilometers to go. Well over 3,000 kilometers to go. I'm going to keep doing them and probably keep making these videos, and maybe one day I'll even watch them. A few people have asked me recently if there's many other hikers out here and suggested that my videos make it seem like there isn't. And it's true, I do feel like a giant dickhead when I'm making these videos, so I try and avoid making them when there's anyone else around. But there are a lot of hikers out here. There'll be, right where I'm standing now, there'll be probably at least another 2,000 hikers that make it this far, if not more. Numbers dwindle as you get further up, I guess. But then there's day hikers. But with a little bit of effort, and there's not much effort, you can feel like you're the only person out here. And that's what I really enjoy. I know there's other hikers out here, and I'm following a very well-worn trail. But to feel like you're the only person out here in these mountains, this camera's going to focus just all the way around. See if I can get the focus at the back there. Not really. Anyway, just to feel this sort of isolation, to feel like you're the only person out here. You can still get it, and it doesn't take much effort. And that's what I really go for, which is why, another reason why my videos have no one else in them generally. Because I like to try and hike alone. I like to feel like I'm the only person out here, even when I'm not. Seems like the desert wants to put on a bit of a farewell party for me tonight. Given tomorrow will be my last day in the desert before I head into this high Sierra. Bit of thunder up there. I'm basically as far as I'm going today though, so it's not a big deal. But I also had my first fall today as well. Made it all the way through the desert without actually fully falling over until today. Second last day. I won't miss this desert. Well, made it into camp before this storm hit. It's just starting to spit now, so I'm thankfully got set up, got my tent
done and the dinner's in the oven, and just waiting to see what this storm holds. It has some pretty big cracks of thunder so far, but I haven't seen any lightning, and the rain's, it's barely spitting, so hopefully it just blows over, because as you can see, this tent is pretty see-through. So I guess we'll find out how much shelter it actually is if the storm gets pretty real. There's also some signs outside saying the campground is closed due to risk of flash flooding and debris. So let's hope it's not too big of a storm. Well, it's raining. So close to getting out of the desert without any rain at all. 52, 53, 52 days, I'm not sure, but second last day and it starts raining. Kind of thankful for my tent now though. It's really starting to grow on me.